I honestly think that parenting, it has to be probably the hardest job in the world, because you don't really, you can take a day off, quote unquote, but you really don't have a day off. And the rules, they continue to change, and regulations, and it just is, it's nonstop. I appreciate the responsibility and the task, because love Carter, and even Pookie to an extent, since we're her caretaker, so I guess we're sort of like her parents. But it is certainly the most difficult job in the world. So shout out to all the parents, whether mothers, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, if you're adopted parents, whatever the case is, shout out to y'all.
Yeah, this feels like a dream, and you know just what I mean. You see my boy, he like gotta made it. Boy, he's a fan, and he like the Ravens.
So Team Keep It Clean, welcome to the newest episode of the Team Keep It Clean podcast. Today, the date that I'm recording this is Monday, July 26th. It is 1 p.m. I literally just got back in the house from taking Pookie for a walk, because normally she'll eat dinner at night and then she'll poop in the morning. But this morning she didn't poop, and she even ate again, and she still hadn't pooped. So I was like, whenever that happens, it doesn't happen often, because usually she's good to go. But when it does happen, I'll take her for a walk, take her for like an extra walk, so she can really get her body moving. Because that's the thing with her, it's like, it's kind of not necessarily weird, but it's her. When she gets all super hyped up and super active, she's running around and stuff and jumping and doing all that stuff. She gets super excited, and that blood gets to flowing and body's moving. That's when that's usually when she poops, especially if it's after she ate her meal. And that's the case again. So whenever if she doesn't poop like she normally does, which again, she normally does, but if she's not pooping, I just take her for a walk. But I made a big mistake on this walk. Made a huge mistake on this walk, because I took her for a walk, and when we leave our little complex or whatever, when we leave our complex, we walk along the main road, and there's a little shortcut to come back in. So you could either take the regular way back into the complex, or you could take the shortcut back into the complex. I took the regular way out of the complex, but I took the shortcut back in the complex. But the thing with the shortcut is that you pass by people's houses. And you pass by their houses, so it's like, oh, you have a big potential to run into a neighbor. And the same neighbor that I told you all about last week, who me and my wife and Carter, we saw at the pool with him and his girlfriend. And he has a son that's like a year older than Carter, and they also have a golden retriever too. The one that said, "Oh, we should have a community, what's it called again? Where you bring a potluck, a community potluck." And I'm thinking, no. He's like, "Oh, we should get the kids together sometime." And I'm thinking, no. He's like, "Oh yeah, we should get the dogs together sometime." And I'm thinking, no, I don't want to. I don't want to chill with you. I don't want to vibe with you. I just don't want to. I don't. But anyway, I was coming. Me and Pookie were coming around the corner, and we were getting ready to pass where he lives at. And I was like, and he was outside, and I was like, oh. So I slowed down a little bit, let Pookie walk in somebody's grass for a little bit. But then he got into his car, and I heard his car start, and I heard him start closing up his house and stuff, and his car started. So I'm like, okay, he getting ready to leave. So his truck pulls out of his parking spot, and it goes forward a little bit to the stop sign, and then I'm like, all right, let's go. Hopefully, if he does see us, maybe just give us a wave or something. We give him a wave back. Keep it at that. Cool, no problem. I'm with it all day. If that's gonna be the case, hey, no problem from me. I love it. But nope. No sirree, not this guy. He went and he stopped his car. He rolled down the window. Oh, so is that Pookie there? I said, yes, that's her. Oh, okay, nice to finally meet him. So that was one thing. Even though, I mean, it happens with people. Pookie's a girl. People will call her a boy. Not a big deal. If it was an actual child, if it was like my child, then I would gladly correct that. And even with Pookie too, I'll keep throwing it in there because it happened just now. He was like, "Oh, she's so cute. How old is she?" And I would say, "Well, he's about 3.5, 4 months." And he was like, "Oh, is she teething, or has she been like losing her teeth yet?" I said, "Yeah, well, he has." And he was like, "Oh, well, since they're growing their permanent teeth in, once they grow their permanent teeth, they'll start biting a lot." And I said, "Oh yeah, she does bite a lot." So he got me over here confused saying he now. But anyway, he was like, "Oh man, let's he's like, "Oh, we're gonna be going out of town for a little bit, so he's like, when we get back though, we gotta get the dogs together so they can go crazy together." And I'm like, and then he's like, "Yeah, we gotta get the boys together too, so they can go crazy together too." I'm like, no, I don't want to, man. I don't, and I mean, there's not really a polite way to tell somebody that you don't want to, like that, like, cause what do you say, like, no thanks. So usually for me though, and my wife, she makes fun of it all the time. Because if there's something that I don't want to do, if there's something that I'm not feeling, and somebody will, like, whether they invite me to it or they ask if I want to do it, I say, "Oh, we'll see." I say, "We'll see." So that's usually my way of saying no. I say, "Oh yeah, we'll see." And but with him, I was just letting him talk. I just, like I said last week, I don't like when people make these forced plans, where it's like where them saying hi, because we knew somebody like that too, and somebody that we actually like chilling with, but because they used to do that. Every time we would see, it's like they felt like compelled to say, "Oh yeah, we got to get together sometime. Oh yeah, we got to hang out sometime." You don't have to say, you can say hi, you can have a conversation about whatever, and that be it. You don't have to feel compelled. "Oh yeah, we got to hang out sometime. Oh yeah, we got to get together sometime. Oh yeah, we got to get the kids, we got to get the dogs together sometime." You don't have to do that. It's not necessary. But I guess that's just going to be him. He's going to be one of those guys that has to say it every time. And I mean, I don't want to do it anytime. So, yeah. Anyway, parenting. Oof, crazy little segue there. But parenting is, like I said, it's a challenge, man. And it's the craziest thing about it is that it has so many different stages and it never stops. That is one job that you can, well, I was about to say you can never quit, but some people, they have quit the job. But at the same time, even if you quit, it's still always going to be your son or your daughter. So you can technically quit, but you're still an employee. You may be on a leave. You may be on an LOA, a leave of absence, but you're still an employee. And whether even if you don't show up to work, you're still an employee. So with parenting, it is just tough because you start off like with a baby, and you don't know. There's just so much that you don't know, and they're like, there's that little corny saying, "Oh, well, babies don't come with handbooks." They don't. It's just so much that you don't know, and even now, like as with Carter, with our firsthand experience, just watching him in this entire process of his life, man, it is tough, and it'll just be like, man, Oof. Parents of, any parents, I get them kudos, get them credit, shout out to them. But parents of 1, parents of 2, 3, I was like, oh boy, you went through this times 2, you went through this times 3. It's very rewarding, but it is tough, very tough. And you continue to face new challenges. It's like a never-ending video game where you face like new bosses all the time, and you got to defeat them. And then you think, okay, all right, I defeated this boss. All right, let's get it, baby. Yeah, let's go. Oh, but then you got another boss. You're like, hold up, is this the final boss? No, ain't no final bosses. You will continue to keep going against these bosses all the time. Because again, they start off as babies. The babies can't talk, but this is where the challenge of teaching a person, teaching an actual human being, you have to teach them how to communicate. You have to teach them how to talk, how to react, how to think, how to reason, how to speak up, how to do so much stuff. And when I remember thinking about it before Carter was born, like I got a little overwhelmed, a little bit. And I told my mom too, I'm like, man, like we're gonna have to teach this dude like how to talk, and how is he gonna learn how to read, and how is he gonna learn all this stuff? I was just like a little worried, because I'm like, man, that's gonna be my responsibility. I'm gonna have to teach my child that. I'm gonna have to teach Carter that when he's born. So you think about that, and it's like it can be a little scary. It could definitely be scary, because I know I was like, oh, whoa, hold up now. So that was that. But as a baby, this is where they learning everything, and that thing about them being a sponge, it never stops, ever. Like these kids, they always taking in what they see. Always. I call Carter a Bumblebee a lot of times. I call this dude Bumblebee because some of the stuff that he be saying, I say, man, with stuff that's what we can always tell what he's watching on TV. We can always tell what his favorite current show is on TV because he'll always repeat stuff from there. Like Bumblebee. What Bumblebee would do from Transformers, he would take a bunch of stuff that he whether heard on the radio or got it from movies, TV, whatever, and that's how he would talk. That's how he would communicate. Now Carter, of course, he do his own thing too, but he definitely be throwing in a lot of stuff from whatever he's watching, man. And even stuff that we say too. Like right now, Carter's thing is, what do he say? You're stinky or it's stinky. Something that he saw on YouTube from Mario. Let me see if I can find it. Look at the annoying noise. It's so annoying. Let me see. Mario. Let me see if I think this is it. Yep, this is the one.
Hey, Stinky!
Yep, that's it. That's what he been saying this for like the past like 3-4 days. Hey, Stinky, and he say it over and 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 over. It's like, man, stop. But anyway, but yeah, going back to when he was a baby, like, and then you gotta of course change the diapers and all that, so you gotta go through that stage. But all they do is just. They just sit there and stare at you. That's all they do in the beginning. They sit there and stare at you. They cry sometimes. They of course pee. They poop. They don't usually tell you when they pee or poop. That takes a little while. But then after a couple months, they start telling you when they pee or poop. Because the crying will be an indicator of a lot of that stuff. Or sometimes the way they yell might be an indicator of whatever they did, whether they did number 1, number 2, whatever it might be. They start communicating a little better as they get older. And then a little while after that, they'll start saying little sounds and whatnot. They'll start saying little coos and caws and hee and ha. They start laughing. Oh, when they start laughing, that's the best. I had loved that stage when Carter started laughing. Man, that was great, man. But then they when they actually start talking. They say mama, dada, mommy, daddy, whatever. And they start saying stuff. So then it's like, oh, this is a whole nother challenge now too. But whether you, even if you're not a parent yet, if you are, great. If you aren't, great. I think my biggest thing with that whole thing with just parenting, period, day by day, man. Day by day. That's it. And that's with enough stuff in life, period. But day by day. Don't overthink it, because you could drive yourself crazy. And just let it happen. You of course got to put work in. There's stuff that's gonna come up, stuff that's gonna happen, and you're not gonna know what to do. You're not gonna know what's going on. I remember I say two of our worst experiences with Carter. Well, that's probably a bad way to put it. Two of our worst experiences with Carter, just where this guy was in so much pain. And it was just tough. One of them was when he had his eye surgery a couple months ago. When was that? When was his eye surgery? It's been a little while now. But when he had that was that was the absolute worst. I know I told y'all about it, but me and my wife and her sister, and we were just talking about it yesterday. I'm like, man, this dude, that was just the worst feeling, because just seeing him be in pain and and not really being able to do anything about it. Like, this guy, he was in all this, like, even before the surgery, it was tough, because before the surgery, I told y'all, like, me and my wife, we both went up to the room, and they stopped. They were like, hey, no, it can only be one parent. We can't have multiple parents, and it can only be one parent. So it's like my wife, she just got cut off, like, so abruptly. And so then I'm in there with him, and just seeing him in a little robe and stuff, I'm like, oh man, he's about to have his surgery. And when they gave him the medicine so to make him drowsy, and I remember right before they just rolled him away, I'm like, I'm just bawling, man. I'm bawling, 'cause I'm like, man, this is my little baby. And I can't even be there with him. Like, I was hoping I could be there in the room with him during the surgery, but I couldn't. Like, 'cause for that stuff, like, I want to be there. Like, even when he was born, there was a little mini operation that they did, nothing crazy, but I wanted to be there for that. Couldn't do it. They wouldn't let me. 'Cause all the blood and stuff, all that stuff, I don't mind seeing. It ain't a big deal. I just wanted to be there with and for my son. I wanted to be there with and for Carter. Like, 'cause you, like, as a parent, really, some of that stuff can kick in even before you're a parent. It may kick in with a certain friend of yours, or if it may kick in with your significant other, where you have just this protective instinct. It could kick in with a family member, anything, but where you have a protective instinct. But I think when you become a parent, it shoots through the roof. And it's that if you had it before, if you ain't have it before, then you definitely got it now. You definitely got that thing now, man. So it's that thing it's something serious too, man. It's something serious. But anyway, it sucked knowing that as a parent I couldn't be there for him as much as I wanted to. But then once the surgery was done, they said, oh, everything went perfect, everything went really good. And it did, because a lot of times, even now, I look at his eyes and stuff, I'm like, wow, they did a great job. And again, the doctor, she was excellent. I got to send her a text just to thank her again, because she did a great job. And my favorite thing about her, one of my favorite things about her, was that she was super nice. And I love how she acknowledged Carter. It's like, again, another thing as a parent, and you just notice this stuff. As a parent, you appreciate, well, at least me, I can only speak for myself, but as a parent, I appreciate when people that we're talking to, if it's me, my wife, and Carter, we all there, I really appreciate when people acknowledge Carter and they actually listen to what he has to say. Because some people could be like, "Oh, hey Carter, how's it going?" Da, 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 da. And he could respond to them, but then they'll redirect the conversation back to me and my wife. And it's like, oh, no, Carter said something. You asked him something, or you said what's up to him. Carter responded to you. So you can continue that conversation with Carter. I love when people, they treat kids like people, because they are people. They have stuff to say. They have opinions. They speak. They have words. They have feelings. They have emotions. They got all of that stuff. So I appreciate when people appreciate kids, their responses, their words, their communication. I appreciate that a lot as a parent, and that goes a long way with me, because I have found myself with people with Carter he's opened stuff up for a lot of people with me. Well, I can't say a lot, but yes, a lot of people, I would say, actually, because there were some people where if it wasn't for Carter, we probably wouldn't even talk. But just talking to them and having relationships with them has really it's been positive, man. It's been great. So I am grateful for it. But anyway, back to the two worst experiences. One was the eye surgery that we just talked about. And then after the surgery was done, they brought him back. Like, he had the little blood tears in his eye and stuff. And it was just tough, man. Yeah, but it was nice to have him back, and just to hold him and to embrace him and to just comfort him. Like, for he was asleep when they first brought him back, he was still asleep. They were like, oh, he may wake up in like an hour or something. He may be a little combative or whatever. So, all right, cool, man. I'm used to that anyway. So he did wake up, and then that's why I said the doctor was the best. They explained literally everything. They explained everything. Everything that they explained happened, and it was great. So they set the expectation. But so when he woke up, he didn't really know where he was at. But then he saw me, and he like calmed down a little bit, and he hugged me back. And it's just being able to comfort your kid is, especially when they're in pain, because you want, as a parent, you want to take away any pain from your kid that you possibly can. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned. And we ain't been parents for that long. Carter's only 6, so he's super young. But that's been one of the biggest things. As a parent, you want to take away any pain from your kid. Now, there's sometimes too where, especially me as a dad, I want him to be able to get through any pain, because there's gonna be pain in life, obviously. But I want him to be able to get through it. But in this case, where it was because of surgery, like, I ain't gonna be like, all right, call the man up. No, not for the surgery, no. Because I've never even done that surgery before. So that's what I told Carter too. I'm like, man, Daddy, I ain't never did that before. I said, me or mommy, we ain't never did that before. Neither one of us. But you did that. You brave, man. Because I remember even the day after the surgery, he couldn't even open his eyes for a whole day. So imagine that. You walk, well, he wasn't really walking around, because we were just, we would be with him and stuff. Bring him food or whatever, bring him whatever. But imagine that. You couldn't even open your eyes for a whole day. And as a kid, as an adult, it'd be hard enough. But as a kid, it's 20 times harder. You just got to have your eyes closed, because when you open them, they hurt. But he got through that. Like, I just remember just riding around, because that's all he wanted to do. Ride around, listen to his songs, listen to his music, because he loved listening to like Mario and Bowser theme music, and Mario and Bowser, like these heavy metal songs and all that. He loves it. That's all he wanted to do. Just ride around. And I told my wife afterwards, I said, well, he probably just wanted to ride around because he couldn't watch TV, because he couldn't open his eyes. But it was like, all right, cool. That was fine. We had a good time. But the other time when it was the worst, and we just didn't know, was when we were going to Chicago in 2018. So we were going to Chicago, and one of my boys was driving us to the airport. In the car, it was me, my wife's sister, Carter, and my wife's sister's husband. So and our boy, he was taking us to the airport. So he was driving crazy. I'm like, man, chill out. I got my family here, man. Driving wild, man. The turns, hey, it was just, oh boy, he's crazy. But anyway, Carter, he's making these turns, these wild turns and all that. Carter threw up. I'm like, man, you driving this crazy? You made Carter throw up? Like, come on, man, chill out. And that's all I thought about it. So then, we are on the plane. We're on the plane, and Carter's stomach is hurting, and he has diarrhea. Still in diapers back then. Because this was over 3 years ago. This is 3.5 years ago. So he was 2 at the time. So he was still in diapers. Was he? Yeah, he was 2. So he had diarrhea. I'm thinking, hold up. Maybe a little stomach a little upset because we on the plane. I don't know, man. But anyway, he had diarrhea. Then he ended up throwing up too. So it's like, man, it's just the worst. Because it's like, man, we on the plane. It ain't like we could take him anywhere real quick away from everybody. We just stuck right there. So we changed him, and I think he went commando for a little while. Because I think we ended up changing his diapers, and we ended up running out of diapers, I think. So he had to go commando for a little while, and we had to get creative. I think we might have had to give him a shirt under there. I forgot what happened. It was a minute ago. But we got to Chicago, got to my wife's dad's house, and Carter was still just throwing up. He was throwing up. And I'm like, man, what's going on with him? He was just so tired. And he was not acting himself. He was just tired. He was just out of it. I'm like, man, what's going on with him? But one of my wife's aunts, like her whole family up there is in the medical field. But one of my wife's aunts was over, and she was like, oh, give him, because we were thinking about taking him to the hospital. We were like, man, like, this ain't cool, man. He keep throwing up. He ain't holding his food down. He ain't acting himself. Something's wrong. So we was thinking about taking him to the hospital. But one of my wife's aunts, she was like, oh, give him a popsicle. Because that's something that he'll like. It got good flavor, and it'll hydrate him, too. And you can let him chew on ice, too. But, yeah, give him a popsicle. So we did that. And then, like, this dude started going back to normal, like, within the next, like, hour or two. We kept giving him popsicles, and then he started acting himself again, and I was just like, oh, it was just a big relief because we just did not know what to do. We did not know what was going on with him, man. So that just seeing him better, oh, that's the best. And there was another time when this time wasn't nearly as bad as those 2 times though, but there was another time where he had the flu. Cause he was in school, and he got it from a kid in school. You know them kids in school, boy, they pass around them germs like crazy, boy. They like, hey, here, you want it? No, you want it too? No, you want it? Because and I remember the phone call too. Because I remember getting a phone call. Teacher called, hit me up. She was like, hey, Carter has his temperature. He feels really hot. He feels really hot, and I was like, So okay. Went to go pick him up, brought him home, ran his temperature. He was hot, gave him some Tylenol or something. And then, because when they have a temperature, you're supposed to, like, keep an eye on it. But if you give him Tylenol, whatever, it goes down, stays down, cool. But if it stays up, you got to make an appointment for him. So it obviously stayed up. So then we took him, made a doctor's appointment for him. And then they're like, oh, yeah, he got the flu. Gave him medicine or whatever, but he was sick. He was tired, and when he would take the medicine, it sucked because he would take the medicine and he would throw up. A little while after taking the medicine, he would throw up every time, and I'm like, man, it sucks. I hate it. But because he was just out of it. So when he got over that, it was like, oh, thank goodness, thank you. But I remember talking to one of the teachers at the school afterwards, and she was like, oh yeah, there was a student who had the flu in the class. I said, oh, you told me that after. Okay, thanks. Tell me that after the fact. Okay, I appreciate it, thank you. Oh God. gosh, man. And this is because this was when things were normal. This is way before the pandemic. This is us way back. But it was very frustrating because with stuff like that, you feel like teachers should definitely be proactive, in taking care of that, and really, like, whether it be isolating the kid from all the other kids or whatnot. And I know it can be hard to do that, but really getting out to reaching out to the parents of the kid, and like, because I know parents, and they obviously, a lot of them put their kids in school because they have to work and whatnot, and they want the kid to be in school and so that they may be far away and whatnot. But it can just be frustrating, man. And then that's another thing too. Parenting with you and your child, it's hard enough as is. But then you got to worry about other people too. You got to worry about your kids' teachers at your kids' school. You got to worry about other kids. What kind of influence are they having on you? You got to worry about so much. Then I think about me as a kid, and everything that I encountered, everything that I went through. I think everything that my mom went through. Oh gosh, she deserves an award because I was not elementary school. Good kid, had little things here and there, but elementary school pretty good. But middle school, that's when everything started. And it just, ooh boy, yeah, man, it just, So hopefully Carter don't get into none of that stuff, and he is just don't go through none of that stuff, because I would go crazy. I would go crazy. But anyway, it's nonstop. It is the hardest job in the world, because there's so many twists and turns. There's so many different ways that things could go. It's crazy. It's very rewarding though. When things go right, even when things go wrong, and then your child learns from what happened, and then you can learn from what happened too. And parents don't always get it right either. I know I for sure don't always get it right with Carter. I already know. I make mistakes. One of the things that I really appreciate though, I appreciate it with my mom when she did it with me. And I definitely know that Carter appreciates when I do it with him as well. And it can be tough too as a parent to do it, because you could be thinking like, I'm the parent, I'm the authority, I'm the one that's calling the shots. They supposed to listen to me, the kid, the child. They supposed to listen to me. They supposed to be hearing what I'm saying and be doing. But we are imperfect. We make mistakes. So I think it's very, very important and beneficial for you as a parent, beneficial for the child too, when you're willing to apologize for when you made a mistake. When you're willing to apologize for when you messed up, when you're willing to apologize for when you may have misunderstood. Because that happened a lot, and it still happens sometimes, where Carter will do something and I'll be like, Carter, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? But then I'll think like, man, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? But then Carter will explain to me the why, and it'll be good reason. And I'll be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I shouldn't have got that upset with you. I shouldn't have done this. I'm sorry. I think he really, really appreciates that, because it shows I think it really teaches them humility, and it takes humility too. To being an adult and you apologizing to a kid, it's like, hold up now. And also being a parent. Sorry, I just got interrupted real quick. Being a parent takes a lot of patience. Takes so much patience, and patience is not something, at least in my case, It is not something you learn overnight with your kid, especially, and it is not something that grows overnight. It is something that you will continually have to work on and continually have to build up your patience, and it will continually be tested. Even just now, Carter knocked on the door. He knocked on the door. He said, "Hey, Dad," and he knows if my door is closed, then I'm working. But he knocked on the door, and that's something. That is another thing too. Let me get through this one story first, and then I go to that one. But he knocked on the door. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I took off my basketball shorts because I wanted to be more comfortable." I say, "Okay, that's fine. That's cool." So I'm thinking, like, he really knocked on the door to tell me that? But he was like, "Oh, can I give them to Pookie?" I said, "No, Carter, you cannot give your basketball shorts to Pookie because she's going to chew them up." He's like, "Oh, okay." That was it. But I do appreciate and did appreciate him telling me, though, instead of just taking the initiative and doing it and taking off his shorts, getting comfortable, and then be like, "Oh, here, Pookie, take my short." No, I'm glad that he approached me about it and he told me about it. So that's the relationship that I want to continue to have with Carter, when he can ask me anything. I want it to remain that way. I want it to stay that way. And this is where I struggle a lot of times too, because I got to be more patient. Because because there have been plenty of times where Carter told me something and I got heated. I'm like, "Oh, why would you do that?" But at the same time, I appreciate him telling me what he told me, because if he wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have gotten mad. But at the same time, I would have never known. So that's something too. It takes a lot of patience. Because you want your child to be comfortable with you. You don't want them to be scared of you or scared to tell you stuff, scared to be open with you. Well, I don't want that. I want to be approachable with Carter, to where he obviously knows I am his parent, I am his dad, but at the same time, like, he could come to me for whatever. And speaking of what he just did, I'm not sure if the mic picked it up or not. I guess I'll hear when I listen back to the podcast if it picks up where he knocked on the door. That's been a process too. And again, being a parent is so many different processes, there's so many different levels and just intricacies of just being a parent. There was a time, if I'm in the office, the door's closed, that means I'm working. Now, if I'm in the office and the door's open, I could still be working, but I might be editing or something like that. I won't be recording. If the door is closed, then 9 times out of 10, I'm recording something. Whether it's the podcast, whether it's a video, whatever, I'm recording something. So there's been times I'll be in the middle of recording a video, and Carter, he'll be outside at the door, and I'll still continue recording. I'll still keep talking, and in hopes that, all right, Carter knows that I'm still talking, so he knows that I'm still working. He knows I'm still recording, so he'll stop knocking. Nope. He would just keep banging, keep knocking, and then enough times he would start knocking louder. And I would be like, "Oh, Carter, what are you doing? Why are you still knocking on the door if you hear that I'm working?" And be like, "Oh, Dad, I just wanted you to make some chicken nuggets for me." It's like, that would be frustrating on so many different levels, because it's like, man. And there'll be times where I'm like, I'm deep into the video, deep into whatever we're talking about, and they just keep knocking. I'm like, oh, come on, man. But at the same time, maybe his mom is busy, and maybe and again, this is something that he needs. He needs to eat, obviously. But it would be frustrating. That's why I say it would take patience. It took patience, and I would tell him, like, hey, if you hear Daddy's talking, if you hear, I did tell him too. Now, if it's an emergency, hey, knock on that door. If you need to open it, fine. But if it's something important, That's fine, no problem. Because this work is not more important than him at all. But it would be frustrating, but at the same time, it'd be like, oh, okay, well, I do want him to be able to come to me for anything. Obviously, definitely, if he needs something, I want him to come to me for it. So yeah, man, like I said, it's processes, man. It's processes. But there have been times, again, where I had to apologize to him for that. Again, sorry, Carter. Sorry for going off on you. My apologies. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. But again, it teaches them, and in my opinion, it really teaches them just respect. And again, humility. Like I said, nobody is above apologizing to somebody. If one person wrongs another, and apologies are in order. Apologies should be in order. They should happen. Nobody should feel like, hey, no, just I'm the adult. I don't need to apologize. No, not at all, man. Not at all. So, anyway, y'all, whether you're a parent or not, I appreciate you listening. Hope y'all been enjoying the podcast. Thank you. Today, again, is July 26th. By the time y'all hear this, we will be 2 days in the training camp. Oh, I wonder if the Ravens going to start all those little pressers and stuff, those little training camp pressers where the players talking. They probably will. So we'll be back on that again. But anyway, I love y'all. Thank you for just listening. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for that. I appreciate it big time. Football season is here. Just pretty much like let me see. Today is the 26th. Well, and you'll hear this on the 28th, I think. Yeah, you'll hear this on the 28th. So a week from the 28th, we'll be talking about the first preseason game. Because I think the first preseason game is on August 5th. It's the Cowboys and somebody. Let me see. Cowboys preseason schedule. I'm looking it up right now. August 13th. No. Oh. Hall of Fame game. Let me look at Hall of Fame game. Dallas Cowboys Hall of Fame game. There it goes. August 5th. Oh, it's by the it's against the Steelers. August 5th. So that's the first. Yeah. Thursday, August 5th. So that'll be a little glimpse of some football then. But then the preseason starts. The regular preseason starts the following week. So yeah. We are literally right there. Right there. The very first football game we will see happens in 7, 8, 9, 10 days from this recording, and 8 days from when you're hearing it. So we made it, y'all. We made it. Slow season is over. It's over. And like I said before, man, it went by crazy fast. Slow season went by so fast. It went by so fast. This has been an extremely busy, slow season. Been a crazy, slow season. But I appreciate it, though. Anyway, love y'all, team. Keep it clean. Appreciate y'all. And we out.